about Toastmasters, about our club. And I will be giving you an overview of mentors and our mentoring program. I will give you an overview of the Confident Communicator Manual and how to get the most out of it. A lot of this will be directed at you, Linda, because you're our one new person here. So I hope that I will have your undivided attention. And a few of the other things that I would like to address real briefly are about both the Confident Communicator track and the Leadership track. Some of you may be familiar with that, some of you may not. I would also like to touch upon a few matters of etiquette, which are typical of every meeting that we conduct. And I would like to pass out a wonderful little handout that we did on the typical meeting agenda, which has a brief description of each of the roles and the order in which those roles present. Some of you will be called upon to be Toastmaster or to be General Evaluator. And for those of you who need a quick overview of that, this is a very handy handout that Joanne put together about a year ago. So, and I will be passing that out. And finally, last but not least, I would like to introduce you to the advanced manuals, which some of you are well embarked on, and some of you are just beginning to embark on those. So there you go. Those are some of the things I would like to discuss. First of all, I would like you to be aware, especially you, that this is a fantastic manual. I encourage you not necessarily to read it cover to cover, but certainly as you progress in all of your speeches, and today you did an excellent job with your icebreaker speech. Thank you for your courage to awaken, strengthen, and release the hero within you. Now, one of the things that you will see at the very end of the manual is there's the place for you to list all 10 of your projects and with their date and then a sign off. When you've finally reached your 10th, it'll be my chance as the VP of Education to get you in the computer correctly and get you your CC pin, which Isabel just finished that. And we have other people well on our way. One of the roles of our secretary, who has been absent 98% of the time, so we need a new secretary, because he, by default, ain't here. This is our handy-dandy Competent Communicator Achievement Award chart, which has cobwebs on it. So, we are going to get this dusted off, and we are going to get this current. So at least we will have a bird's eye view of where each one of us stands, not only in our Competent Communicator manuals, but the advanced manuals achievements as well. Next on my topic of agenda are the tracks. There are 2 tracks that every brand new Toastmaster can go on, and you all should be encouraged to go on both of these tracks. You can run on them simultaneously. You don't have to wait until you've done your first 10 speeches in your Competent Communicator manual to understand that there's a whole nother manual that's going to come in the mail, and it's the Leadership Manual. Now, you may not think of yourself as Hillary or Obama or Mandela or a world or Oprah or some other dynamic, fully released, fully strengthened, and fully awakened hero. However, Toastmasters program with 80 years of experience can encourage you to move forward in those ways. Now, the Competent Leader Manual, which I don't have in front of me, is a separate manual. Most of the stuff in there is stuff that you are already going to be doing in your everyday coming to meetings. You're going to be an evaluator. You're going to be a general evaluator. You're going to be a Toastmaster. Maybe not right away, I pretty much assign the roles, and I make them appropriate to your level of advancement. So we're not going to like throw you into the water of being an evaluator or a Toastmaster until you've been to several meetings and had your experience. But do take a look at that manual when it comes in the mail. See what you can easily do and start getting those things checked off on there. One of the things in there is being a mentor. And being a mentor is a wonderful opportunity to train somebody who's brand new and a little rusty, a little scared, and not necessarily all that ready to jump into Toastmasters. Linda, I'm going to give you, I don't think you've seen this yet, it's called a new member profile. And you're the only new member who's here tonight, so we'll go over this again in future meetings. This is a very valuable sort of...
Isabel and Judy are fairly old.
I don't think that doesn't look familiar to me. Does it
Wow.
to you, Judy?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah,
Does it?
well, we'll give you one. Here's Linda, and here's Isabel. And we'd be more than happy to have you fill that out, and please give it back to me. It's sort of like 20 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? You know, what are your goals for Toastmasters? And that sort of thing. But that will help us sort of tailor our program to your goals and your needs. All right, so we've discussed the mentorship program. As far as you getting a mentor, Linda, I believe you already have one. Would that be Isabel?
I don't feel very adequate. I think you should have somebody more professional, like anybody who's been here a long time, longer.
I think Isabel would be the
I
best
think
possible
Isabel would be
Oh,
like
guys.
primo. You
All
are a
right.
confident communicator.
I will, competent,
Do you know
absolutely,
that-
I'm confident.
Do you know that less than 10% of all Toastmasters ever become confident communicators?
No, I did not realize that.
What percentage?
Less than 10.
Oh,
Not only will you,
amazing.
but you will also be achieving one of the major goals in your club leadership manual if you become a mentor.
Oh, okay, Linda, you think you could learn from
But
me?
can she have two mentors?
Sure, she can
If
call
Bill's
on.
not available, sure.
When she does,
Sure.
and I'll take her place.
Okay, so
Thank you, that's nice, you're a lady.
Yeah, they always tell me after some
Yeah.
family things.
Isabel, I am going to give you this sheet, which is a mentor assignment notice, because there's a little checklist on here of the things that you can do as a mentor. That'll help you feel a little more qualified. Okay, and the whole back, there's all kinds of good stuff on that sheet, okay?
If you have an extra one, I'll take it,
I'd be happy to give
because I'm interested in being
you. Yeah,
one of the mentors.
absolutely. Lauren, when she comes, you could approach her and say, hey, I want to be your mentor.
I wouldn't say it exactly like that.
All right. Now, here's a couple of things about etiquette and guidelines. How do you run a good Toastmasters meetings? Are there certain things you should do, certain things you shouldn't do? I would say heckling probably falls under the category of stuff you shouldn't do. How many would agree with that? Now, let's define heckling. Heckling would probably be interrupting somebody's speech, especially when they're a new person and they're already shaking their
That yellow
nose.
shirt's kind of bright.
He doesn't like my shirt.
You needed an example.
Example.
Yeah, we love your shirt, you needed an example.
Now I've completely lost my train of thought. And all I'm
Very
thinking
effective.
about is my
Good job, Bonnie.
lemon-colored shirt. At least I'm not wearing red.
Ooh, good saber lines, nice.
Yeah, see, now Don Rickles can do a good comeback, but some of these new people up here may not be able to go with the flow of the punches. So just be a little cautious about, especially piping up with your 2 cents in the middle of when someone else is speaking. And that could be during a speech, it could be when the Toastmaster's up there. Anytime someone is up here, they pretty much have the floor. So you just kick back and listen, unless the speaker elicits, or implies that he would like the audience to give feedback. All right, so that's one thing. What else is on my list of, here it is. Okay, let's talk about some tricky areas where you're picking your speech content. You might say religion, politics, and...
NASCAR.
Pardon me?
NASCAR.
NASCAR?
Yeah, those are the 3 subjects not allowed to talk to be spoken about.
Why not NASCAR? That sounds interesting to me.
He's kidding, he just said.
Oh, sorry, man.
Okay, so,
That's the first rule, you just broke
Yeah.
twice. We're in
Right.
for the third
And thank you
time.
for
Wait,
pointing that out.
third time, Monty.
now, the other one would be sort of, let's say sort of therapy. Okay, therapy. Personal therapy. Religion, we have a lot of, how many of you would say that you're pretty hot on religion? It's pretty much what you want to talk about. You're very passionate about your religion. Okay? I'm not saying don't talk about your religion. You may talk about your religion. Brad came and practiced his speech. The following week he gave it at his church. And it was excellent. Lucy came and talked about her transformational experience of getting shot 3 times as a police officer and how God and Archangel Michael saved her. Now, when she got to the divisional contest, one of the judges, when the first sentence was out of her mouth, in very loud exclamations said, "Oh, no!" I think he actually used a word that begins with F. All right? So, keep in mind, and she probably didn't win because that was one of the judges. He broke his own rules, which is not to judge by content. Judge by presentation skills. We are not here to judge you by the content of your speech. You could do a speech on aardvarks, how they do not deserve to be the first word in the dictionary with 2 A's in front of them. You could talk about anything, and we're not here to judge you on that. However, be respectful of your audience. Don't proselytize your religion. Don't come here and try to convert someone to your way of your belief systems. Keep it sort of generic and universal. Keep it plain English. Keep it inspirational. So politics, here's the other thing about politics. How many Republicans in the audience? How many conservatives in the audience? How many liberals? How many liberals? How many Democrats? How many voted for Hillary? How many voted for Obama? Okay, I don't want to know. Okay, but here's the point. Okay, the point being, and there's a whole other club sponsored by the John Bird Society, and one of our current members and a brother of one of our people in this audience. They go there, and that specific club is to further the agenda of the Conservative Party, and every single speech probably is about that. That's different. This is a more open and universal club where we try to keep things, not that you can't, well, I'm saying you can choose your content, but be careful about, being too slanted and being sort of too proselytizing. That's the word. Where basically you're there to change everybody's opinion about something. I don't know. If you want to do it once in a while, great. If you can break it up and do something that's just a personal story or entertaining, or, like me right now, entertaining, trying to be entertaining.
You are.
Thank you. Okay, now the other one that's a little sensitive is therapy. A lot of times what you'll see with beginning Toastmasters is that they have something that was so traumatic in their life that they need to kind of get up here and ask the audience to be their therapist so they can unburden themselves of that experience. I remember there was one young lady when we had our blitz, and out of the blue, in one of her first 10 speeches, she started to talk about this horrible experience she had when she was abducted and kidnapped and she thought she was either going to get raped or killed. And this guy had her tied up and was dragging her up the mountain to a secluded cabin in the middle of nowhere. And she somehow managed to escape
Good, yeah.
this situation, but the whole audience, me personally, and the whole audience was just kind of floored by, out of the blue, telling us the story, which was so traumatic for her. And I guess the point is, well, what's your motive for that? What's your motive? Are you there? Now, when Lucy got up there at the divisional, after her speech was over, and again, this was the number one key traumatic experience of her life, getting
Right.
shot 3 times and almost dying. And of course, she that's what she wanted to wrap her speech around. But for her whole speaking career, she may tell variations of that. But someone gave her some very good advice after she was done. She said, when you're a new speaker, the first thing you do is you talk about yourself. The second thing you do as you evolve as a speaker is then you start talking about things that you're passionate about. Then you evolve a little more and you realize that you're there for your audience. And I'm not saying don't tell stories. In the magazine that just came out, it says add story to your slides. Every single speech, I believe, should have a story. Just like I told that story about rain. All of a sudden I got your attention about this poor gal being dragged up to the mountain to get killed or raped or God knows what. And she managed to escape. I had your attention there, didn't I? Okay. Do tell stories, but look at your motive, and it's not an AA meeting, so we're not here to say, hi, I'm Dennis, and I'm a victim of child sexual abuse and an alcoholic father. Okay? Do you understand? All right. So just a word of advice, keep it light and keep it so that it reflects back to the audience something that will be of value to them. You can wrap a moral lesson around those stories, even if they're your personal stories, like Brad did with the snakes. Wasn't that something? Okay. All right. So one more bit of etiquette that I would like to emphasize for all of you in closing is that the 10 speeches of your Competent Communicator Manual have been designed with 80 years of experience and honed, and chiseled, and perfected. We've had many members come and go in this group, and some of them, one of them was a son of someone in the audience. And this guy already, he was dynamic, he was charismatic, he got up here and he rocked and rolled. He didn't even need Toastmasters. But one of the things that was glaringly missing, and I'm not accusing him of anything, he's a very busy guy. He probably did 2 minutes of thinking before he got up here, if at all. Every speech that he gave was probably just totally impromptu, and he rocked it and he got an A, because he was so charismatic and so good already. But in his evaluation, if his speech was number 6 and it was supposed to be props, and he had no props. If his speech was number 7 and it was supposed to be vocal variety, he didn't even know it was vocal variety. He didn't even care if it was vocal variety. He didn't even do any vocal variety. My point being, please spend some time reading the goals for that particular 10 of those 10 speeches and put some effort and time into planning. Number 2, it's going to be intro, body, conclusion, organizing your speech. So put a little effort into thinking, what's my introduction? How can I get up there and introduce? Then what's my body? And how can I wrap it all up at the end? Okay. So that's your goal for number 2. And as we evaluate you, our goal will mostly, I would say 80% of our evaluation should be, did you achieve those particular goals of that particular speech? Keep in mind, though, that it's cumulative. So if you're on speech number 8, you should now be incorporating every skill from 1 to 8. That includes the gestures, the vocal variety, you're organizing your speech, you're building cumulatively upon those, and that's what we'd like to see. So, fellow Toastmasters, I will pass out, for those of you who either haven't seen it, this is what a typical meeting looks like. If you read this and take a look at this, you will have a really good idea of what I like to call the scaffolding of our meeting. As you know, every meeting is completely different, right? However, every meeting has a scaffolding or a structure that we follow. This gives our meetings uniformity and strength. And as you know, what we are looking for is to strengthen, to awaken, and to release the speaker within.